So, hi everyone, my name is Uday, and I'm the founder and CEO of Oxbridge-AIx and Oxbridge-AI Challenge, where we're trying to help as many people from Oxford and Cambridge globally to build their dreams. And the Oxbridge-AI Challenge, as some of you might know, is our pitch competition incubator, where we have a community with over 350 startups, and we have over 120 heroes. Two of our heroes today are joining us to talk about Vibecoding. So I'm going to give it to them. Jungkeon and Ayushman, over to you both. Thank you for joining us.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Uday. And hi, everyone. Super excited to meet all of you. Today, Jungkeon and I have been doing some of these sessions across UC Berkeley and also trying to spread out the word with different schools. And I thought it would be super useful to just learn fundamental entry points to vibe coding, what is a super straightforward way, what is a little bit more advanced way. And, we're going to talk through some of these patterns that we found successful when it comes to vibe coding. But it would be amazing to have this interactive. Pause us if you have any questions, and just it would be good to get this spirit rolling. With that, let me just share my screen. Hopefully everyone can see. I can start with a little bit of intro. So both Jungkeon and I are classmates at UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. We're just starting up our second year. I'm an incoming product manager at Snowflake. I'll be this summer I worked on specifically AI search from an enterprise perspective, and I'm going to be going back to them after graduation to work on it full time. I have a extensive background in ads, big data, and also deep learning AI. So also happy to talk about how some of these industries might connect together. But yeah, with that, I pass it on to Jungkeon.
Yeah, my name is Jungkeun. I'm UC Berkeley MBA second year student right now, but at the same time, I'm building my startup, which is called Plato. We are building AI teammate that rescue stool deals for B2B sales right now. Before I came to MBA, I was a management consultant for 6 years at McKinsey and Kearney. Also, I worked as a go-to-market manager at Stanford. So I started the coding and by coding just a year ago. So if you guys have any don't have any technical background, I'm happy to share how I juggled and overcame my vibe coding journey.
Awesome. Yeah, go for it, Jungkeon.
Yeah, so everybody knows how vibe coding words came out. So it was just very recent. It was just around 6 months ago. So left-hand side is just Google trend, how vibe coding keyword became so popular. So early February, it became viral. And then Andrew Karpathy, who is the former head of AI at Tesla and the co-founding member of the OpenAI, he just made this viral tweet in Twitter. There's new kind of vibe coding. That being said, you don't use any technical words, you use just plain English, and then you just hand over the coding and then just write prompt enter, and then you just wait, and then you feel the vibe. That's how vibe coding works. Just came out. Next. So Ayushman and I, we started to collaborate together around 6 months ago. We are fanatic into vibe coding, and then we've also seen this vibe coding era changing so fast. Number one is Cursor, which is the ID tool for the more advanced technology. It just became the 10 billion valuation. Even nowadays in the Bay Area, people expect that valuation will be much more higher. Also, Windsurf is the competitor of the Cursor. They were acquired by Google plus Cognition, $3 billion. Even the C-levels of the Windsurf, they just moved to the Google, and the Google bought that key man only by just $3 billion. It was super amazing. Third part, we're gonna cover this Lovable thing later on. Lovable just became 2 billion unicorn Swedish company, and then it just became unicorn less than a year. now the funny thing is, other than those three tools, Claude Code became the major in the Bay Area. So all this Vibecoding area is like war. So one is getting the traction, but the other one just getting traction. Maybe this slide will be changed in a few months because Google Gemini, OpenAI, Codex, they are preparing to join this game. So we are so excited to get the discount from them. Next. Yeah, that's the picture I explained. Lovable became the fastest unicorn in the world in less than a year, and then made the ARR $100 million less than a year. So it's crazy and then very impressive number. We're gonna see this kind of company will coming out soon based on the Vibecoding. Next.
Okay. So I think I'm sure a lot of us in this room are already sort of seeing these market headwinds in the sense that how these companies are sort of taking over a lot of major workflows. There's a lot of consumer adoption and it's trickling down to enterprise. But I also wanted to talk about what are the major underlying behavior changes that are happening with vibe coding specifically, because at least from a product management perspective, this is something I'm also seeing in the industry. There is more and more of an expectation around these skills, which is something that employees are expecting. So anyone who is keen to explore roles in product management or just technology in general, just know that employers are increasingly starting to look into basically this core skills here. So I think I want to talk about what is the core difference when it comes to what you used to do before and what do you do now. So one is, as you can see, you have to understand the code base. If you want to get started on a project, you want to fully understand what is done so far, so you can build on top of it. And that took a long time. If you've navigated complex code bases, you know exactly what I mean. But now you can basically, there's obviously two entry points. One is if it's a completely new project, you basically describe the vision and lead the LLM to the outcome that you want. Or if it's a project which is existing, you just ask it to explain what is the code base. And it works extremely powerfully. This is across my personal projects as well as my work. I've noticed how well it works. And then in the previous world, we have to identify what we want to build or change. But now that even that ideation process has become extremely different with AI. So a sort of, I don't want to say exactly a misconception, but what I've noticed is, people when they're talking to AI, they have ideas and they sort of ask the AI to implement it. But another way for us to think about is whenever there's a decision step, you ask the AI to give you the potential options that you could pursue, and it fundamentally helps you iterate much quicker and faster because you can just crowdsource ideas when it comes to changing what you want to build. And then articulation was essentially when it comes to coding, it's fundamentally at a very deep and granular level. What you want out of the system, you have to basically explain it in a programming language construct. Now, this might seem pretty intuitive, but the articulation with natural language is a very fundamental shift, and it carries a lot of pros and cons. Obviously, you lose a little bit of granularity, but you can explain and guide it pretty much the same way when it comes to leading people. This is something that I was speaking to some of the directors in product management this time, and they also seem to think that this is a fundamentally different way in which actually product managers are really well placed to work in this world because they know exactly how to articulate their ask for designers, engineers, and similarly, you can sort of talk to AI the same way. And then you have to, in the previous world, you have to understand the outputs and what, to understand what went right or wrong. And it's kind of the same here. Like today as well, you have to kind of, for example, if you're using a vibe coding tool like Cursor, you still have to go to Google Chrome and understand what your output is. I think this part is pretty much the same when it comes to feedback loops of software development. But what is different is how you debug. So in the previous world, debugging was extremely painstaking. You have to go through entire stack traces, find a needle in a haystack. I've personally done it. I'm sure some of us in the room have also done it. It's painstaking. But now with AI, fundamentally, the needle in the haystack problem is reducing day by day. These systems are the context window of these systems are increasing, and they're increasingly getting more capable to find out extremely difficult problems. What I will say is thing to consider is the transmission of messages when it comes to errors. That is still human. So if something goes wrong in your website, you still have to find where the errors are and paste it into whatever coding tool that you're using. I suspect this is only a temporary problem, as these systems will try to get some context of the execution environment. But that's the one thing which is still painstaking and manual. Yeah. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Jungkeon today to talk about the agenda for today's chat.
Yeah, so we're going to cover two parts. Number one is how to build personalized websites with Lovable. Secondly, Ayushman will let you know how to use Claude Code effectively, and then what is the best case, including MCPs. Ayushman, would it be okay? I'm going to share the screen.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're able to use this link, the Lovable invitation. And then if you have some student account, now they are promoting the 50% discount. So you can use it right now. Also, Claude Code, you can go this link. You can download and then it's very easy to implement in your CLI, which is your terminal-based one. Yeah. So let me explain what is the common mistake of the Vibecoding. So people expect that they are able to make the website whatever they want. That's half true, half wrong. So let's say you are just going into Lovable, and then you expect, hey, I'd like to build my personal website, like attach image, please make my bio, working experience, and please use my information in the LinkedIn. It's gonna be, people use this Vibecoding tool like ChatGPT or like Gemini, but this is quite long. So if you really wanna get the right result, you need to be very specific and then more artistic. So let's say I want to show you how the website is made by this wrong prompt. So as you've seen, I used this prompt and then it made this website. And then even though I copy and paste my LinkedIn, it used my photo like this. I'm not that person. Also, they were using the software engineer, full stack developer. In my LinkedIn, I never used this kind of word. So it's basically, it hallucinated my information, and then it made some kind of the website. It looks okay, but it's just okay, not production ready. So you need to use a lot of skills to make the very professional looking website. So what I'm gonna suggest you is, number one is you need to plan very rigorously, and then you need to think about the design of this website, and then what you need to input in your as a content. Lastly, you need to think about the tech stack. This is gonna be a little bit technical, but if you know some words and then you train some of the words, you're gonna make a more professional website. So let me talk about the more mistake. So many beginners think about this, just chat and watch the magic happens, but not like this. So I want to recommend, first of all, you need to think about the what is your reference. So I like this guy, the Brad Adcock, who is the CEO of the Figure AI. So you just copy and paste this kind of website, and then you attach the Lovable, and then ask them how I'm able to make the beautiful website like this. So, and then you start with the AI, whatever you want. So I prefer Claude. So I ask Claude, hey, you're a prompt engineering and website design guru. You define the role. And then you say that, hey, I'd like to build my personal website. And could you outline the key components I should plan for? So I'm gonna set about my overview, visual design, content, and tech stack. And then now the cursor Claude understand what I would like to make. So it gives me, okay, so you need homepage, about bio, portfolio, contact, blog, resume. And then it says about the below one, about the visual design, whatever. So you need to back and forth with AI, what you need to make specifically. So this stage is super important. Based on this input, output of this AI interaction, your website prompt will be very different. So after you go back and forth with AI, at the end of the day, you ask LLM, what is the lovable from structure? So let's say I want to make my personal website as a kind of resume website. So I asked, hey, this is overview. I want to make a personal website. I'm the UC Berkeley student from Korea, and then this is my career background. For design wise, I like kind of more minimal, professional, and I like the red color, and then it should be subtle animation like this. And then I asked them, hey, I want to use this tech stack, Next.js, Tailwind CSS, Xuexian. This is kind of more like front-end based tech stack, so you don't need to worry about that, but it's going to be better to define the what tech stack you need to want to define. Then Claude LLM gives me the final prompt for Lovable. So you can see that Lovable, the Claude defined what is my design spec, tech requirement, size structure, key features. So I'm gonna copy and paste this right-hand side prompt in the Lovable website directly. Then what happens is I'm gonna show you, I already made the website based on the prompt that I showed you. This is the exactly same one that I showed you. Then now we made website more based on my prompt. So we made more reddish based website, and then my correct background, and then it made some navigation bar and some of the animation, and it's gonna be more better one. So what I wanted to show you is the font. Actually, as you can see, now people recognize what Lovable website is. What I mean is, I showed you this, and I also show you this. So the design is a little bit similar. What I mean is structure is quite similar. So right now, the industry people, they don't want to be looking like a Lovable one. So right now, people use this kind of ready-made component quite a lot. So it says 20% step and magic UI.design. So this is the website who already made ready-made code for the beautiful website component and then libraries. Let's say you go to the background, and then you are able to find the design whatever you want. So let's say click here, and you can see some of the moving, and then this header, and go to the open component. Now you can see the code. So you're able to copy prompt, and then you can paste in the Lovable. So when you click copy prompt and find the Lovable, and you copy here, and you go here, and then, hey, please improve my background with this component. And then you just copy and paste the we previously did. And then when you go to the enter, now we start to improve our background. Let me get back to you later on because it takes some time. So what I wanted to say here is you need to plan rigorously first, and then you can use this kind of design component. Also, you can use this kind of design component very flexibly because lovable design is normally okay, but not professional. So you can, this kind of component, it's all free. So you can just copy and paste this code base. You don't need to know about this code, just copy and paste in Lovable. It's so easy. So to add on your taste, you can use more like language. So let's say you can say the vibe, like, hey, it should be more ultra modern, playful, highly usable. As you use this kind of word in your design things, so it's very it can be more specific vibe to the AI coding tool. At the same time, you can name drop like Apple, Notion, Slack, whatever tools you like. Also, at the same time, not only just static design, Lovable is very good at to make the animation. So you ask, hey, can you add hover stage to buttons? And then can you make the wordings should be more gradient moving or transitioning, something like that. So you can think about the more creative, artistic style wording, and then you can back and forth with AI. So what I wanted to say is vibe coding is skill. It's not just magic. So you need to, if you know more about these tools and jargons, it's going to be better to upgrade your skill. So as I told you, planning is everything. And you can copy and paste image rather than just text. AI really understands image very well. Also, when you build website, after that, if you really didn't like it, it's better to build again, not just renovate. And lastly, use prompt very effectively. So right now, AI coding tools are experimenting usage-based pricing. That being said, it's not just one-time back and forth pricing. If you use a lot of prompts, they're going to consume prompts quite a lot, and then your credit runs out so fast. So we are running out of time. So I made some vibe coding tricks here with 15 lovable tricks. I'm going to share with you guys via Oxbridge team. So you can look it out. What is the planning tip, and then some prompting mastery and design guidelines and something like that. So yeah, that's the Lovable session. And then as you can see, we made this one. So there's some minor bugs, but still you can see it just exactly reflected the background design that I copy and pasted. Awesome. Yeah, that's the end of my sharing. And then let's hand over to the Ayushman.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Jungkeon. We were thinking one of the best ways to sort of really internalize what we're talking about is to actually try to build something. I know it takes usually takes a little while to get everything set up. So I think for this session, it would be useful if you can just following along in the sense that just see how I approach, building like a basic website. But obviously, feel free to reach out to me later separately if you really want to understand specifics of all the prompts. I can send you a whole guide about how this works. But with that, let me just quickly share my full screen. Just want to check, Uday, Jungkeon, are you able to see? Okay, awesome, perfect. So I wanted to talk about something called Claude Code first. It's I can just like flip it up as I talk through it. So Claude Code is something that came out um, I would say a couple of months back in research preview, and I started playing around with it um, pretty much instantly, and I realized the power of this kind of an interface. And obviously, we're going to see that in a second. But ever since then, um, other companies have started launching their own sort of terminal-based systems. So Google has done that. There's a Gemini CLI, and then OpenAI has released something called Codex CLI. So we see that there is a pattern emerging in which people want to wipe code more and more directly through the terminal-based interfaces in the computer, and that's because terminal is basically at the heart of what your computer is, because it has access to everything. And if you make that entry point in terminal itself, you can control pretty much a lot of things. So with that, let me just move to Claude Code. So as you can see, this is just a terminal. I opened this in my system, and this is my root directory. What I will do is, again, you don't have to, you can just directly open the terminal in your folder itself. But I will go to desktop, and then I will create, let's say, um, let me name this something, Oxbridge. So I'm now in this directory, and what I'll do is I've already installed it. It's actually not that difficult to install it. But there is a single command. I think it should be somewhere here. I can send you this command offline, but it's a single command that you'll run on your terminal. After which it's an npm command that installs all the packages that you need for Claude Code. So once that is done, all you have to do is type Claude, and it opens up, it asks you whether you trust the files in the folder. Yes, it's okay. And it opens up this kind of an interface, as you can see, which is pretty interesting. It's an interface within a terminal which behaves and looks in its own ways. And at the end of the day, it's nothing but basically any other coding agent tool. Think of it like ChatGPT, but just another different entry point. As you can see how it works, I'll show you. So what I was thinking is today, um, uh, we'll just try to recreate something pretty simple. I showcased in the last session with Oxbridge, but we created this chatbot, which takes real-time information from web, does a search, and uses an LLM to synthesize results. So, for example, the formatting will not be great, but if I ask it something like, "What is the weather in Berkeley today?" So it's gonna take the query, and while it's thinking, it's using up the Perplexity search API underneath. I'll also showcase how that works. But yeah, essentially, it uses search, gets you the response over here. Um, okay, so yeah, that's search. Is there a question somewhere?
I don't think so.
No.
I think it's just someone's mic.
Okay, cool.
There we go.
All right. So what I also want to mention here is that one is the fact that we love using vibe coding tools because these are fundamentally making us more productive. But the other thing to think about here is all the different components within vibe coding that could be useful. So for example, today we'll learn one single pattern, which is how to embed search within your products. But you can also think of so many other things which are coming up. So for example, right now, besides the search, you can connect with MCPs, which is nothing but essentially an API that your LLM can call to use a different kind of a product or tool. And there are, if I'm not wrong, there's a bunch of tools which are, let's say, MCP server list. So you can look at different kind of servers that people have built, and basically you can think about solved functions that you can use within your code. So you basically don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you want to build something. So this is something to really keep an eye out on. And basically the intuition that's useful here is whenever you try to solve a problem and you get into a data access issue or a processing issue, which you think might have been something that other people have also used or have wanted to use, try to search for an MCP to see if it ever exists. So for example, search also has MCPs, like Perplexity has a Sonar search MCP that you can use to make searches. So yeah, that's just a note on the side. So yeah, let's try to recreate this to the extent that's possible. Again, we might not be able to because sometimes these things run into errors, but at least we'll hopefully learn something. So what I'll do right now is I will take a screenshot of this. And I will basically drag and drop it over here. And this is a very extremely powerful way to work with these models. It's that whenever you have context that you want to share, if it's copy pastable, then do that. But if it's something that involves a visual element, then taking a screenshot and then pasting it is usually a really good way to go about it. So I pasted this and then I go like, hi Claude, I want to build a simple chatbot that looks like the screenshot. When I ask a question, the response should, or let me just say, when I ask a question, you should conduct a web search with Perplexity's Sonar API, and then return the answer. I will share the API key. So this is important. An API key is pretty much essentially just an authentication mechanism when you're using external services. So it's just a secret key, essentially. I will share the API key with you later. So yeah, basically what I did is, this is again as basic of a prompt as it gets. If you're trying to do something more important, I would say take this prompt, put it into ChatGPT and ask it to expand with more details, or ask it to ask questions to you so that you can think a little bit more, answer those questions in terms of removing ambiguity so that it creates a very big and nice prompt, essentially talking about all the details that are necessary for the coding agent to pick up. Then I would paste this prompt back into Claude Code. But for now, just to show, I mean, this doesn't matter, so I'll just go ahead with this. So now it's going to go ahead and think, and it does a funny little thing with, it just makes up new words every time it's doing something. You'll see this, what you'll see, notice here is, one is it follows up with these kind of responses, but from my experience across multiple coding agent tools, what I found is these terminal-based tools, and this is something that Claude Code started, the responses are extremely articulate and concise. This is a useful insight, in my opinion, because sometimes when you're doing a lot of these vibe coding exercises, you don't want to spend a lot of time reading if the reading part is somewhat redundant or too verbose for your liking. This is especially useful when you're trying to do quick and dirty changes to something. So this is just useful in general for rapid prototyping. Now the options that I get, so it's going to do a tool call. So the coding agent realized that it needs to read a file in order for it to sort of gain more context, which is the image that I sent. So what the options I have are, do I want to proceed? Do I want to proceed and give Claude Code access to this command every time so that it doesn't have to ask me again? And finally, no, and tell what Claude should do differently in case I have an opinion that Claude is not going in the right direction. That's when I'll pick option 3. So usually I end up picking option 2, unless it's a access I'm giving which is super secure, and usually it doesn't go into that territory. So yeah, it's gonna read the image and then think about what to do next. So I can see the chatbot design from the screenshot. It has a dark theme with user messages, bot responses, an input field at the bottom with ask anything placeholder, and a web search button to send. One second, and send. Yeah. So this is when it creates a new file. and you can basically ask it to, again, just continue creating. And Claude Code has now improved quite a bit. Like I've been using it since it came out in research preview, but now it's really good at tool management. It knows exactly what tool to call. It also writes to-dos. So right now, I think this is simple enough exercise. So it'll create a small to-do list. But yeah, sometimes when the projects get extremely complex, it'll create multiple, very complex to-do lists just so it can continue to focus. There is a very important thing to note here, and that's the context window. So it's not showing up right now because I have a lot of context window, but think of context window just as the limits to the LLM's short-term memory. And long-term memory is a fundamentally different concept, which we see in products like ChatGPT, in which basically it remembers you across conversations and all. So I'm talking about short-term memory, which is the fact that this is your code base, this is how it's structured, these are the features we just spoke about, and all of that stuff. So context window is limited sometimes. So if you talk a lot, it's going to start to forget, and all of these things will happen. So it's really important for people to focus on something called context engineering. And I can talk about all of it, but essentially it's about making sure that the context that you've discussed with the LLM keeps getting persisted. So you can store it in files, and you can do a lot of other things. I can talk about sub agents as well, which is one way to do effectively context engineering. But keep in mind that the LLM will forget all you talked about when you start the session. So it would be good to persist it in a file so that every time you start a new session, it reads the file and builds up its context all over again. Okay, so now we see if it has created this complete chatbot that matches the design in the screenshot. Here's what I built, all the files, dark theme, all of this stuff, and then open index.html in your browser. So what I'll now do is I will just put this on the side, and then I'll open the Oxbridge folder, which I just created, and I will click on index.html. Okay, so it is doing something. So at least the user interface has been picked up. This is pretty great. I think this is almost exactly what I sent it to. Sent to it. So let's do hi. What is the weather Berkeley today? So, okay, it said, please set your Perplexity API key first. You can do this by calling all of this. So it even put a warning. This I did not ask it to do, but it's intuitive enough to understand these kind of things. So now let's look at what we can do to get the key. So I want to talk about the Sonar API first, because whenever you're trying to get some context about um, a particular, let's say, develop a library, like this is a library through which I'm going to use an API, it's usually useful to go through the developer docs, not because you need to read it, but you at least need to give the LLM context about how to implement it. Because if you don't call the right API, or if it's not able to search the right way, you might spend a little bit of time trying to figure that out. And again, back to Jungkeon's point, you need, if money is a concern, it's useful to be mindful of how if there are more efficient pathways to essentially getting to the same place. So this, after trying and testing, is an efficient pathway, I can tell you. So now I will basically search. I think they've changed the page a little bit, so I'll have to look into this a second. Get the latest news. So they're using chat.completions. So there are different kinds of APIs here. Let's see, quick start. Okay, so as you can see, their whole completion API gets you the full final response and does the search as well. So we will basically pick this up, and then I will go to my Claude Code agent and say, great, let's now integrate the Perplexity Sonar API for searching and LLM completions. And then I basically use this API. Payload is nothing but basically the structure of what the API is expecting. And then use this. So this is an anti-pattern, what I'm showing you, but it doesn't matter because I don't have a lot of credits anyway. But API key is a secret, and you basically have to place the secret within a file. Because like you don't want to send that key to the LLMs in general, because again, it goes to their servers. So try to keep all your secret stuff within you, and don't send it directly to the LLM. So what I will do here is I will go to Perplexity AI. I hope I remember where to find it from. Let's see. Okay, API keys. So I have a few API keys within my Perplexity account. Let me create a new API key and call it Oxbridge test. So I remember to delete it later. And then, so I got this API key and then use this. I just basically paste this API key over here when calling the search. So now this is an interesting element because now it does actual backend work, and um, I do believe that Lovable and all these low code, super simple to use products will eventually get really good at backend. But right now, for at least from my experience, Cursor and Claude Code, these kind of tools are kind of good at backend. So even when you start with let's say Lovable or V0 by Vercel, all of these tools get the user interface. Once you download it into a folder and let Claude on it, which is basically, hey Claude, what is the project about? Then basically you can start it from that point on. What I'm trying to say is get the front end elements sorted out from these front end heavy tools like V0 Vercels, because they're optimized for good, beautiful looking websites, and then get the code down into a folder and then start Claude Code from that point on. Then you can sort of steer the backend from that point. Okay, so now it's updated the chatbot with all of these specs. So index.html, start asking questions, and bot will use Sonar Perplexity. Let's see. Let's see if it works. What's the... Perfect. Okay, as you can see, it did not even make mistakes this time. So even within a couple of months, we have gone to a pretty interesting space. Like I would have at least had to spend like maybe 10 to 20 more minutes to get it to the state. But as you can see, like this was extremely quick. So you can iterate from this point on. But what I would also like to talk about is some of the other lifecycle management stuff. So for example, now, if you want to, let's say, host this on an actual web server, then how do you do it, right? So I'll try to see if it gets too tricky or takes too long, then I'll probably take a pause. But the first step is repository management. So you want to make sure that you are also implementing good version control, which just essentially means that you can save your progress from at different points as you work through the thing. So I think some of you might be aware about Git and GitHub, but basically that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to implement the Git storage, Git version control here. So what I'll go is like, I don't even have to say Git. I can just go, this looks great. Can you commit all of this? So commit just means commit all of this to a Git repository. Let's see if it understands. But yeah, so as you can see, it already understood that it needs to Git. It needs to push the files to Git. It ran some commands and faced some errors. There's no Git repository here. So it understands these errors and it starts to basically solve them. Again, the important thing here is that not all errors it can see. So for example, if there's a terminal error, it will be able to see the outputs because it can run the commands. But if it's something else, for example, the Chrome issues in your Chrome, then it can't see. So you have to figure it out. As you can see, so it got the commit messages done, which is super useful. So you can always check the version history about what went on with your code. And then, yeah, this is now completely pushed, completely committed to a repository. So now this might take a second, but if you go to, let's say, Vercel, this is where people usually host their projects. So what essentially this means is if someone wants to create a new project and put their code base completely on a website, Vercel is the way to go. I'll probably take a pause here, but essentially the steps from this point on are you create a Git repository. So basically what you do is you go to GitHub, and then I have to sign up and everything. But once you sign into GitHub and create a repository, you have to do an SSH connection with your terminal. You can pretty much ask ChatGPT how to connect your local Git to your remote Git, which is your online account. And then once that is there, you create a repository on the website with the same name as what you name here, in which case it's Oxbridge. And once it's done, you basically push your code to GitHub. Once your code is in GitHub, after that, linking it into Vercel is super simple. You just have to connect a repository, like import a project from GitHub, and then it basically picks up from the main branch, which is where you've pushed all your code, and it deploys it instantly. It even gives you a URL that you can share with your friends who if you want to get feedback on your particular Vibecoded project and everything. So it's really powerful. And I actually hosted my own. Let me just maybe show you this. I'm 1 second if I can find it. So I'm working on my own startup project on the side, and I was able to host it just yesterday. Minimal effort. And again, this is just a starting point of everything. But with Vercel, it just becomes super easy. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, you can completely see how your deployment looks, and basically just control everything from that point on. Yeah, I will take a pause at this point. 1 second. Let me just try to find my. Okay. Perfect. I'll open it up for questions at this point. If we have time still running over there, let me know.
All good. Keep going. Like we have questions. So I wanted to make sure that because people might not have read all the questions in the chat. So I just want to go through them. Jungkeon has already answered some of these, but I did have a question of my own in particular. So there's obviously with Claude Code, it might be interesting if you could share like when people build locally as well to be able to test out versus when they build online. Have you done a bit of that with like windsurf combo?
So you're talking about when you use sort of cursor or windsurf alongside Claude Code?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that. That is also a super effective way because sometimes you want both the IDE experience as well as the power of Claude Code. The thing is like the utility of it. One thing is the fact that you can mix and match, but it also causes like two separate work streams of context. So what I essentially mean is, let me see if I can actually pull this up. I may have removed cursor from my. Okay, no, I do have it, which is great. Okay, so let me just show you guys what we are talking about here. All right, so we're talking about how to combine the power of cursor and Claude Code, and essentially, so cursor is this product. I'm sure you guys have heard about it, but it's also GPT-5 and cursors here. Oh, that's very interesting. That's very interesting. I just saw they launched Cursor CLI. Just more to the point, these systems are getting extremely pervasive. So Cursor just launched their own. Anyway, I will probably do that. I don't know what to do here. I'll cancel it. So I will open my project here, and basically I go to desktop, and then I go to Oxbridge. and then I open this project, and all of these files are here. This is the code that we kind of wrote, and you can use this cursor chat to sort of improve everything. But the other thing that you can do is you can open up a terminal here, which is the same thing that we just discussed, right? So now I can open up Claude here and basically have two of these systems to talk through it. This has pros and cons, because now what you can potentially do is, when it's extremely complex stuff and you know that Claude Code could help you more, you can save it for that, because Anthropic is expensive. I believe I'm right in saying that Anthropic is the most expensive AI API just for usage, but it's also one of the greatest APIs for coding specifically. So yeah, basically you can talk to it, or you can talk to this chat, and you can select whatever models that you have. I think there's a model selection in the options section that you can get to. But the thing is, as you can mix and match, that has benefits in terms of cost control, model control, and all of that stuff. But also remember that this is going to have two sets of context running, which is what we spoke about. So the cursor chat is going to have its own memory. Claude Code is going to have its own memory, which is context. And if you're, let's say, committed to one of those and you discuss some bits with that chat agent, then it's going to be difficult for the other one to understand it. So what do? What you can do is, after a significant step, update your claude.md file. So claude.md file is a markdown file, which you can see over here. That's the default for Claude. That's something it basically looks into to understand context and everything. So you can also ask Cursor to build up context in claude.md. So there's a shared file of context. The difference is context normally is automatically updated. Here you'll have to manually prompt it to save things to the context. So yeah, that's the only call out I would mention here.
Ayushman, can you go back to the screen? I'm going to add more on this. So not only you can use Cursor and Claude Code simultaneously, you can use Claude Code within 3 terminals or 4 terminals simultaneously. So right now in the Bay Area, they buy macro, top tier computer, and then they operate the Claude Code 3 or 4 times simultaneously. So you're able to use the multiple agent separately. Again, you can designate one agent, one Claude Code as a just front-end designer, one as a back-end engineer, one as this project. So you can do whatever you want more simultaneously. And I'm reading the question about the chat. The $20 per month plan for Claude Code is quite enough. If you are just building personal website that I told you, or very light one, $20 is quite okay. But if you're really serious about building production ready one, you need to pay around $100 one or $200 one. So right now I'm using $100 for one for my startups, the front end code. That is quite enough. But if you operate 3 Claude codes simultaneously, you need $200.
It's I use the $200 max, and I also noticed that using Opus, because you can decide which one. Opus is more effective at not being like as verbose. Like Sonnet tends to like keep going a bit too much, so it's like it helps use the things. I'm just going to keep going backwards with the questions. Also, guys and girls, if you have questions, just raise your hand and please introduce yourself with the video. So Andrew, well, most welcome, Andrew. So Andrew has a question. Do you have any concerns sharing your keys in some of these platforms, or the agents having the key, or managing custom agents?
Yeah, could I ask a more general question as well? Just that this whole bit about putting keys out and code, which is going off and doing things, and when you do MCP, the calls it does. Have you got any advice on how you ask the AI to check that it's not going off and doing things that you didn't ask for, or sort of stuff like that? Because I'm just concerned that there's going to be backdoors, or some of your data is going to be going where you didn't necessarily think. So any general advice on that?
Yeah, this is a fantastic and extremely timely question, Andrew, because a lot of people are building these products. And just I use my API key right now. This is a low stakes project in general, but that's exactly the kind of mistakes which are very easy to make. You put your API key and it's off into the world and you have no control over it anymore, right? So one is the fact that whenever it's sensitive keys, there is this concept called an environment file. So it's called a .env file. It's extremely common in software practices. So these files, you can actually mention it. As you're talking to your AI, you go like, can you create an environment file through which all the access keys and secrets are accessed, basically from picked up. And then this is a very good use of cursor. So in Claude Code, there is no way to directly update files. As you can see, like there is oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen, but what you remember from Claude Code is that it's a single interface. You only talk to the chat. But in Cursor, you can actually update the files manually. So once you create the env files, it's going to say like perplexity API key equal to, and it's going to keep it blank. And then you just paste it over there. So once you do that, Cursor at least stores your code in a base that it doesn't all go online. But yes, that's one way to at least have a base level of security. Then the second thing is, if I remember right, Claude Code also came up with this new feature in which it's so what they do is they modularize a lot of important functions into slash commands. You, for example, you press slash and then compact. You just write compact. It's going to compact all the context into one paragraph so that your context becomes clear. Similarly, they launched another tool which was called, I believe, security review. So if you run a slash security review command, it's going to go through everything and it's going to try to figure out all your security vulnerabilities. I would, if you're still building production apps, I would still get an actual engineer to double check everything. But as you can see, like I think the industry is moving towards a direction that even security vulnerabilities to a good extent, at least the basic ones, will be figured out by the AI itself. So I think that's a good starting point for now, at least. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Raj.
Of course.
We have a question from Ajibola.
Yes. Thank you so much, John and Ayushman. I have a background in software engineering for over a decade, but one thing I've noticed is when using AI, all of these tools, they make your work very faster, cleaner. But there's this part when you are trying to troubleshoot a problem. It could be a production project and something is not working well. Have you come across any tool or maybe a technique to make this easier, so you don't need to read all of this code line by line and trying to figure out where the problem is exactly?
So yeah, it would depend on what interface your product is running on. So for example, let's say you have an iOS app, then debugging that app is a fundamentally different thing than debugging a website. But the easiest thing to is to start with a website. So what I usually do is I can actually share my screen to explain this. 1 second. Yeah. So these, for example, this website that we just created, right? If it runs into an error, it's an issue, it's not rendering or anything. I know your question also contained a production element, but there's an overlap in the answer. But essentially, when you see issues here, you can go and inspect element and click on the console. So you see the console is clean right now, but when you refresh or do something, and there is an error, you will see a bolded error red. Like you will see a whole stack trace, everything that went wrong. So what I would at least do is I would copy paste that whole stack trace and then paste it back into the LLM for it to understand where things went wrong. That usually works. But if you're talking about extremely scalable production ready workloads, then you might have to invest some time in observability, setting up observability so it collects logs from all the interactions and things that are happening, And then a lot of observability tools actually now have AI, so it can actually figure out things that are going wrong and let you know those errors. So it depends on production versus hobby, but there are ways to get logs out of a system. If you don't have logs, then I would ask the AI to actually put specific statements that will help you debug the root cause of an issue. Because sometimes you just have to feed it within the code itself. Like this statement executed, this one did not. So something must have gone wrong within these two, right? So there are different ways to sort of debug, but hopefully these ways are useful somewhat.
Yeah, thank you so much. It actually helped.
Awesome.
Next, we have a question from Khadija. Would you like to ask it, or should we like me to read it?
I can come off mute to ask it. Sorry, I'm a bit under the weather, so I sound hoarse, but thanks, Uday. Just curious, I know that Jungkeon, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, he was talking about kind of using it for the front-end building of his app. I know you walked us through the website, but curious to get an idea and understanding or starting point for what that would look like, how you're leveraging it, just to get some ideas for those like myself who may be looking to do something serious, similarly.
So if I understood right, so you want to know more about how we use Claude Code LLM tool to use the app, or other than just plain website, do you want to know the limit of the building softwares?
Yes. Like, what is the what does that process look like? So you showed us how we can kind of go through, walk us through with detail. Ayushman did in terms of toggling with it to kind of have that search part there. And I'm assuming you could add that maybe to a chatbot to your existing website or something like that. But if you're going to use Claude for app development, like how involved is that process? What's a good starting point, or any tools that you can point us towards?
Gotcha. So normally, LLM is very good at planning. So let's say, when you go to the Claude Code, Lovable, and Cursor, they're very good at execution-wise. But if you, as I told you, there should be very rigorous planning. Like what's the step you need to develop. There is some tools called the Task Master. You can make the product roadmap, PRD, but still you need to ideate and specify what you want to build with Claude. But other than Claude, OpenAI, Gemini, whatever you prefer, that's okay. All of them are very good. Even Grok I use sometimes. Also, other than personal website, you're able to make the software, very serious software. Like I'm building SaaS tool for the B2B sales reps. Also, Ayushman made other than personal website, he made his own newspaper for like financial and technology news. So yeah, that's my answer. Yeah. Do you want more details about this?
No, I think that's a good starting point. Thank you. Very helpful. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Next, we have Gavin. Gavin, would you like to ask it, or would you like me to read it?
Yeah, happy to ask it. So thank you. Very interesting. I've been using Vibecoding a lot. I played around a little bit with MCP servers just to try and understand it, and I created one myself. Took a little while, but it sort of taking quite a long time. So 15, 20 plus seconds to do something. And I guess my question is really, is that just because it was my bad code, or is that kind of an industry norm really to actually do something useful with MCP, remote MCP servers? Is there that kind of time frame, delay, latency?
Oh, is it just to understand the question fully? You developed an MCP server which you're testing out with an LLM, but the response time with that MCP is 15 to 20 seconds, is what you're saying?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I would say I've used Puppeteer, which is definitely less than that. I think this is a really good case for AI observability. My hunch is there is an observability tool out there which would look at tool calls and see exactly what's happening within the whole stack trace of the tool calls to see what is exactly taking latency. But yeah, to simply answer your question, I would say it depends on the use case, but I've definitely seen faster ones. I don't know what the average is, but I would guess is that if it's non-computationally heavy or research heavy, it should be quicker. So yeah, I would try to look into observability tools, because this is a fascinating question, by the way, because essentially everyone would need some mechanism to debug their own MCP servers. I just don't know what the best one is, but I'm sure there's something probably out there.
It's also a lot of interest and hype around MCP right now. And if it's meant to be the solution, but it's got that latency built in, then it might be better to use a hybrid, which is what I've done, of function calls to get something quick and easy done first, and then MCP for more complicated. But I just haven't really sort of seen that much talked about this kind of thing before.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. And yeah, MCPs are all the rage right now, because essentially it's not, I don't think it's something very fundamentally new, because it's a conversational encapsulation on top of an API. That's what's going on. So APIs have been around, but that whole paradigm of interfaces, people haven't really understood, or at least to a uniform degree, how to build these. So I suspect like some tooling is going to come around this, probably by Anthropic, because they created just to see how these how to even debug these MCPs essentially.
Yeah. Ayushman, do you mind if I share a little thing that I tried?
Oh, of course, go for it.
Yeah. So so one thing that I've tried, because I built a MCP on Claude like starting January without even realizing I was building an MCP. And what you could basically do is you can download all the files, and like Ayushman showed on Cursor. So I use Windsurf for this, but you could create a folder and basically upload your MCP infrastructure into that folder, and then make sure that it's referenced. So it becomes part of your internal app if you're making it, instead of having to use a server.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. So is it similar to just uploading the logic of the MCP server within the code itself?
Yeah. So and you can tell Claude to make sure that the files are editable, so that it doesn't create a crash. I'm still testing this out, but yeah, it's something a friend suggested. It's quite fun. But the problem with MCPs though is like they can get quite complex, and so the context window problem is something that I'm trying to figure out right now. And I'm also gonna put this into like there's a hackathon happening in a couple of weeks that we're organizing with Expedite and Cohere, which we're looking at context windows. So if you guys want to come to that, it should be fun. We now have a question by Yanni. Yanni, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Hi, I'm Yanni. I'm pretty new to Vibecoding and everything. From what I've gathered, it seems like a lot of the Vibecoding tools would flag up errors for you, and then they will fix them themselves. But what happens if I want to fine tune or to change a small bit of the existing code? And then how would you recommend me to do that? Like what I used to do is just copy and paste everything to ChatGPT and ask them to signpost the specific area for me. But I was just wondering, is there like a way, obviously if you have like a lot of code already written and then you just want to change a small thing, how would you recommend like people to find out which part we should fix? I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah, no, I fully understand the question. This is this is a great question as well. So I was actually talking to some engineers this summer, and they said that more often than not, even real and like people who are fully working as a software engineer, they end up doing the same thing, which is the fact that AI does most of the they take the work 80% of the way, and for the remaining 20%, you kind of have to go to a specific section and update a piece of code. And the way I would go about it is I would basically ask cursor.Claude Code. I think in this case, cursor is probably what you should use because you actually have to update code inline. I would basically ask, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. Which file and which section of the code base should I go ahead and update in? So it'll tell you what file. It'll also tell you the lines of code or within the section. If you can also, like, this is just my software engineering brain talking, but you can ask it to say, can you make it into a function? And it would modularize the whole section into a function, and you just go ahead and update that function. So it becomes more modular for you to test out. Yeah, I think there's a couple of things you can do here to do that.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Of course.
With that, I just wanted to wrap this up because it's been amazing, and I don't want to take too much of our heroes' times. But Ayushman and Jungkeon, thank you so much. This has been absolutely epic. You currently have, as I said, the record of the most number of signups for a masterclass. This is like masterclass number 25. So yeah, really excited to have you guys back, and hopefully we can have you in person, during the challenge as well. I hope you enjoyed it. So everyone, please, join me in thanking Ayushman and Jungkeon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.